If you're over 60 and your doctor said your creatinine is elevated, stop eating these 5 foods. Not salt, not fast food, not junk food. These are foods sitting in your refrigerator right now. Foods you probably think are healthy. And food number 3? That one surprises almost everyone. Most seniors consider it a superfood. For kidneys already under stress, it can be the exact opposite. I'm going to name all 5 and tell you exactly what to replace each one with, so stay with me. Most people who get that elevated creatinine number hear the same thing. Cut the salt, drink more water, maybe take a water pill. And for a while, that feels logical. Salt causes fluid retention. Water flushes the kidneys. Simple enough. But here's what nobody tells you. It's not the salt shaker on your table doing the most damage. In most cases, it's 5 specific foods. Foods most seniors consider healthy, or at least harmless, quietly raising creatinine and putting strain on kidneys that are already working harder than they should. Let me give you the first one right now. Red meat. Beef, lamb, pork chops. Red meat is the single largest dietary source of creatine, the compound your muscles break down into creatinine. The more creatine you eat, the more creatinine your kidneys have to filter. After 60, your kidneys are already operating at 70 to 80% of their peak capacity, according to the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. That's not failure, that's biology. But it means the margin for error is smaller. The replacement? Fish. Cod, tilapia, or salmon. 4 ounces 3 times a week. Same protein, a fraction of the creatine load. I'll walk you through the remaining 4 foods in just a moment, including food number 3, the one that surprises almost everyone. It's in almost every senior's kitchen. And no, it's not red meat. Before I do, if you're new here, subscribe to Wellness Explained Seniors, straight answers for adults over 60, backed by real research, not guesswork, not trends, not advice designed for 30-year-olds. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next. Let me tell you what your days probably look like right now, because I want you to know, I understand what you're dealing with. You wake up and your hands feel slightly stiff, not painful, just tight. You go to the bathroom and your urine is darker than it used to be, or you're going less often than you think you should. By early afternoon, your ankles feel heavy. You take off your shoes and you see the elastic left in your skin. You press on your ankle and it holds the indent for a second before it bounces back. You feel more tired than your activity level explains. Maybe you've had blood work recently. Your doctor mentioned your creatinine was elevated, or borderline. They told you to watch your diet, but they didn't give you a specific list, so you went home and tried to figure it out yourself. You cut back on red meat. You switched to low-sodium soup. You started drinking more water. And yet, the numbers didn't move the way you hoped. Or they moved, then crept back up. That frustration is real. And the reason it keeps happening is that nobody told you about the specific foods most problematic for kidneys over 60, because the research on this is more recent than most doctors' training. Here's why the standard advice keeps failing you. First, most people focus only on sodium. And yes, excess sodium matters. But when you switch to low-sodium packaged foods, you often unknowingly increase your intake of potassium-based salt substitutes. For kidneys already struggling to filter, excess potassium is not neutral. It's an additional burden. Your kidneys have to work harder to excrete it, and that extra workload shows up in your creatinine numbers. Researchers at the Mayo Clinic have documented that potassium overload in older adults with reduced kidney function can accelerate filtration decline. Second, most seniors are told to eat more protein to preserve muscle. That advice isn't wrong in general, but the type and quantity of protein matters enormously for kidney health. High-protein diets, even from lean sources, require the kidneys to process more nitrogen waste. That directly raises creatinine. Eating more chicken breast or Greek yogurt every day without accounting for kidney function is one of the most common dietary mistakes in this age group. Third, many seniors add more whole grains for fiber and heart health. Whole grains aren't bad foods, but they are high in phosphorus, and kidneys with reduced filtration capacity struggle to eliminate excess phosphorus efficiently.
When phosphorus builds up, it creates a cascade of problems, including calcium loss from bone and vascular calcification, that puts additional stress on the kidneys and worsens creatinine elevation over time.
A 2019 study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association found that dietary phosphorus excess in adults over 65 was associated with faster kidney function decline, independent of protein intake. These aren't obvious mistakes. They're the result of following advice that was never designed with kidney function in mind. And that's why the standard advice fails. But here's what actually works, and I'll prove it with a real case study in 60 seconds. Quick but important. If you have sudden swelling in just one leg, chest pain, shortness of breath, or you're producing much less urine than normal, that's not what this video covers. Call your doctor or go to the ER today. Those are signs of conditions that need urgent care. What I'm talking about here is gradual creatinine elevation. This is educational content, not medical advice. Always check with your own doctor before changing your diet.
Now, here's what creatinine actually is, because once you understand the mechanism, the 5 foods on this list will make perfect sense. Creatinine is a waste product. It's produced naturally when your muscles break down a compound called creatine, which your body uses for energy. Healthy kidneys filter creatinine out of the blood and send it out through urine. When creatinine levels rise in a blood test, it almost always means one of two things. Either the kidneys are filtering less efficiently than they should, or the body is producing more creatinine than usual, or both. Think of your kidneys like the water filter under your kitchen sink. When it's clean, it handles the normal load fine. But as it clogs, gradually, with age, with blood pressure, with inflammation, the same amount of waste becomes harder to push through. Now imagine dumping more waste into the pipes at the same time. More protein, more potassium, more phosphorus. The filter backs up. That's creatinine rising in your blood. Researchers at the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases have documented that kidney filtration capacity naturally declines by roughly 1% per year after age 40. That means by the time you're 65, your kidneys may be operating at 70 to 80% of their peak capacity, even without any diagnosed disease. That's not failure, that's biology, but it does mean the dietary margin for error gets smaller as you age. Foods that were completely fine at 40 can become genuinely problematic at 65. Now let me show you what that looks like in a real person. Raymond, 68, retired electrician from Tucson, Arizona. Raymond went to his annual physical feeling pretty good, walking 30 minutes a day, had cut back on red meat 2 years earlier, thought he was eating responsibly. His blood work told a different story. His creatinine had climbed to 1.4, elevated for his age and body size. His doctor told him to reduce protein and sodium. Raymond did exactly that. Swapped steak for grilled chicken. Stopped adding salt at the table. 6 months later, still 1.3. Barely moved. He was frustrated, confused. And here's what he didn't know. The protein shakes he'd started drinking for muscle support. The canned beans he'd added for fiber. The banana he ate every single morning for potassium. All 3 were loading his kidneys in ways his doctor hadn't specifically addressed. When a renal dietitian looked at the full picture and swapped those out, his creatinine dropped to 1.1 in 8 weeks. He told me he wished someone had just given him the specific list 3 years earlier, instead of the general advice he kept getting. That list is exactly what I'm about to give you. Before I do, try 2 quick self-checks right now. Get a baseline, so you can track whether these changes actually work for your body. Test 1, the afternoon ankle test. At the end of your day, after 4 or more hours of normal activity, take off your socks. Press your thumb firmly into the skin just above your ankle bone. Hold for 5 seconds. Release. If the indent stays for more than 2 seconds before the skin bounces back, that's a sign your body is retaining fluid at a level worth paying attention to. Test 2, the morning urine color check. Tomorrow morning, before you drink anything, look at the color of your urine. Pale straw yellow is what healthy kidney filtration looks like. If it's consistently darker, amber, orange tinted, or noticeably dark, that can mean your kidneys are concentrating waste instead of releasing it efficiently.
Neither of these diagnoses anything, but they give you a starting point. and a way to tell whether the changes ahead are making a real difference. Now, here are the 5 foods most likely raising your creatinine after 60, and exactly what to replace each one with. Food number 1, red meat. I mentioned this earlier: beef, lamb, pork, the single largest dietary source of creatine. The more creatine you consume, the more creatinine your body produces, and your 60-plus kidneys have to filter every gram of it. Replace with fish, cod, tilapia, or salmon. 4 ounces 3 times a week. Same protein, a fraction of the creatine load. The American Heart Association has consistently found that replacing red meat with fish reduces the metabolic burden on kidneys in older adults. Food number 2, high-dose protein supplements. Whey protein shakes, protein bars, high-protein Greek yogurt.
These are marketed for muscle preservation, and that advice isn't wrong. But the concentration of protein in these products can overwhelm kidneys already filtering at 70 to 80% capacity. 1 serving of whey protein isolate contains roughly 25 grams of protein. That's more than most 65-year-old kidneys need to process in a single sitting. Replace with egg whites, 1 or 2 per meal, complete protein, much lower nitrogen load, or a small portion of cottage cheese, 2 tablespoons, which gives you slow-release protein that's easier on kidney filtration. Cleveland Clinic dietitians recommend egg whites as the gold standard protein source for patients managing elevated creatinine. Food number 3, and this is the one that surprises almost everyone: bananas. Most seniors consider bananas a health food. They're high in potassium, and for younger kidneys, that's fine. But for kidneys over 60 already struggling to filter efficiently, excess potassium is not neutral. It's an additional burden. 1 medium banana contains roughly 422 milligrams of potassium. That's a significant load for compromised kidneys to excrete. And here's what most people don't realize. When potassium builds up because the kidneys can't clear it, it doesn't just affect your creatinine numbers, it can affect your heart rhythm. This is precisely why nephrologists at Stanford Medicine restrict potassium in patients with elevated creatinine, not because potassium is bad, but because compromised kidneys can't manage the load. Replace with apples. 1 medium apple has only about 107 milligrams of potassium, roughly 1/4 of a banana. Same sweetness, same fiber, far less kidney strain. Berries work too: blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, all low potassium, high antioxidant, and kidney friendly. Food number 4, canned tomato products, tomato sauce, tomato juice, ketchup, pasta sauce. These are potassium bombs hiding in plain sight. 1 cup of tomato sauce contains over 900 milligrams of potassium, more than double a banana, and because they're in cooked, concentrated form, you absorb the potassium faster than from raw foods. Replace with fresh tomatoes, in moderation. 1 medium fresh tomato has only about 292 milligrams of potassium, roughly 1/3 of the concentrated version. Or swap pasta sauce for a simple olive oil and garlic base. Same meal, dramatically less kidney load. Food number 5, whole wheat bread. This one catches people off guard. Whole wheat is supposed to be the healthy choice, right? More fiber, more nutrients. But it also has significantly more phosphorus and potassium than white bread. And both of those minerals are filtered through the kidneys. 2 slices of whole wheat bread contain roughly 190 milligrams of phosphorus and 140 milligrams of potassium. White bread, roughly 55 milligrams of phosphorus and 30 milligrams of potassium. That's a 3-to-1 difference in kidney workload per sandwich. Replace with sourdough white bread. The fermentation process partially breaks down phosphorus, making it easier for compromised kidneys to process. It's also lower in potassium. 1 or 2 slices per meal. You still get bread. Your kidneys get a break. And 1 bonus item: parsley tea. Parsley has been studied as a natural diuretic at the University of Cairo and referenced in publications by the National Institutes of Health. It gently increases urine output without the harsh effects of pharmaceutical diuretics, which means it helps your kidneys flush creatinine more efficiently without depleting your electrolytes. Steep 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley in hot water for 5 minutes. Drink 1 cup in the morning. Simple, cheap, and effective. Most people notice a difference within a few days of making these swaps. Give it 2 full weeks, then redo your ankle test and check your morning urine color again. You may be surprised at what changes. How old are you? Drop your age in the comments. The more I know about who's watching, the better I can cover what matters most to you. Where are you watching from? Tell me your city or country. If this helped you, hit the like button so YouTube shows it to more people over 60 who need to hear it. Subscribe to Wellness Explained Seniors so you don't miss what's coming next. Take care of yourself.